guys, we are going to be making an ornament using Model Magic, and we're going to use the color Magic, so we won't be painting it. Your teachers are going to hand out a red, yellow, blue, and white Model Magic packet for you, and a styrofoam ball, and a gallon bag, and a sandwich bag. And the first thing we want to do is we want to put our name on both of our bags, because one thing that's going to be really important is that we keep the Model Magic sealed tight till we're done working on our projects, because it does dry out very quickly. Today I'm going to show you 3 different ornaments to pick from. And when we're done, you'll be able to select the one that you feel is right for you. Now, I do want to remind you that the red, yellow, and blue are our primary colors, and they can make all the colors for you. I did give your teachers a little tiny bit of black and skin tone if needed, but even those can be made. So let's get started. The first ornament I'm going to show you is our Santa, and he's a lot of fun. So to make your Santa ornament, I guess I should put them somewhere where you can see them. You're going to start with the ball, and we're going to start with the skin tone. And your teacher can give you some skin tone color, and then you can mix it with a little bit of the white. So, for instance, I have some here, and I felt like my Santa had a little too much skin tone, and it doesn't take very much. But we're going to use the white with this to lighten it up a little bit. But I am going to pull a little of this off because I do want his nose to be that dark, because I want his nose to be a little darker. He's been outside delivering presents in the cold, so we do need that. So we have that. Now this little piece, I'm going to take a little bit of white, just a little pinch of white, and we're going to mix the colors. Now to mix the colors, all you have to do is put them together and stretch and pull, and you just keep going till you get it all blended. And that's one thing I just love about Model Magic. It just totally blends colors beautifully for you. All right, so we have our Santa skin tone with the darker nose. Now what you're going to do is you're going to take it and roll it in a ball, and we're going to flatten it with our thumb. And I'm going to spread it out. These edges will be covered. And I'm going to find a place I would like to put that in the center front of my ball here. And I'm just going to push it on. If at any time you have trouble with the Model Magic sticking to your styrofoam ball, you can always just put a little bit of the white liquid school glue on it. Okay, now I have this ready, and I don't want mine to row while I'm working, so I'm going to just put it there for right now. And I'm going to put my nose aside. And the next thing is, as I said, your teachers have a itty bitty bit of black. And that's because the only thing we need it for on our Santa would be his eyes. So we don't need but like a tiny bit. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take it and break it into 2 even pieces and roll them both in balls. And then just flatten it with my finger to make a dot, a circle. But it's about dot size when I think about it. And you can just push it a little bit into the skin tone, and now they're there. All right, so the next thing we're going to do is use a lot of the white for this. So I'm going to get started by taking white and kind of pulling it and flattening it, because I want to go and just kind of, I'm putting a bit of a base around his face and up inside, but you don't have to worry about the top yet. Right now we're just working, and we're going to make his beard fancier. But right now, at least in the front, with the little swirls. But I found when I was working that the little swirls tend to get flattened when you're adding the hat and items. So I found it was kind of better just to go ahead and just add this as first, and then we'll have something to add to it. So I'm making it really thin because I don't want to waste a lot of my white, but it will be covering the back of my Santa. So like I said, my Santa, he's been drying, so he's a little flat at the bottom. So let's pretend Miss Johnston has covered this whole part with the white Model Magic. And that would mean I would be ready to get started. And just so you know, you're going to cover this kind of like all the way around here too. Now the next part, I'm going to take this and we're going to use cooling. And cooling is like when you are making a snake. So it's flat and you try to keep it even. And you can, even with this Model Magic, you can pull just a little bit. If you're gentle, it will not get too thin in one location. All right, now I'm going to take this part, make sure you can see this more than me, and I'm going to put it where I think the fur of his hat would be, all the way around. And I'm going to flatten that a little bit as I push. And this is one of those things, since you will have all that clay already back there, it should stick fine. Mine's not wanting to yet because I didn't put all my clay back there to speed up our video. But we're just going to flatten it with our thumb a little bit. All right. Now, if you want to, you can do that one more time and make it fluffier if you would like to, or you can just wait and see how it looks after we add the red. Okay, now the red, I'm going to just kind of give you a heads up. The red can make a mess if it gets on your white. So you're going to want to try really hard to keep it off, away from your surface. I always try to keep mine onto, when I'm working with all my Model Magic, I try to keep it onto the plastic there. It came out of the little packet there, foil, plastic, whatever it's made out of nowadays. We're not sure. Okay, and again, I could do that, but I found that if I just roll it in a big fat coil, add where my hat would go, and start flattening it out like I did the fur, and I do want to keep this above the fur. Now, go. And then you're going to flatten it out because you're making his hat. And we're just going to keep going around and flattening and sticking it to the ball here above where the fur is on his hat. That's why I said sometimes you'll find it's better to do some more fur after you've added his hat. And you can smooth it, but being his hat and he'll have hair under it, it would have a lot of, you know, it's not going to be perfectly smooth because it's one of those kind of hats that kind of conforms to whatever is underneath the hat. And as you'll see, I'm just pinching to get this covered up. And I still have a good half of this. So if I want to, I could add more. But one thing I like to do is do a coil here. And I'm going to kind of make where his hat would flap over because it's a cone-shaped hat that kind of flaps over. So what I did is I smoothed it out on this side and here. And like I said, if you want to, you can add a little more. It's just up to you how fat you want the hat or how big you want the hat. I would tell you, please do not have the hat come down onto the white. You're just looking for a big accident, and it's not easy to fix things in Model Magic because it sticks to itself, which is wonderful. But also, it can cause a problem because if you mess up, you can't just take it away. And you can even, if you want, you can pinch it. You can use any tool you want. I just use a large tapestry plastic weaving needle when I'm working sometimes with clay, but you can, whatever you want. All right. So now that I have the hat done, I think I am going to make just a, I'm going to fluff up his fur. Whoops. And now, see, that's giving me a thicker, and it goes on. Now you can see more dimension where it looks like the fur's brim is coming further away, or closer, I should say closer to you, instead of just even with the red. And that's what that second layer can do. Plus also just make it really nice and fluffy. Because it is fur, so it would be fluffy. All right, so now we have the Santa hat. Pretty much. Oh my goodness, what are we forgetting on his hat? Oh, I know what it is. It's that little fur ball on the tip. So you're just gonna roll a little ball and stick it there. There you go. And we'll add some textures here in just a minute. All right, so I've got his eyes and here. Oops. All right, now we're gonna add some more to his fur and some eyebrows and a little white light to his eyes. So again, everything pretty much is just cooling or making balls. And I don't know if you know this, but Model Magic is easy to cut with scissors. Okay, now for that little white dot you might want for his eye, it's tiny. I mean, it's just itty bitty. I have made his eyes really big on this one. So, let me see. Even this is still too big. Shh. Always fun working from home with dogs. Okay. Okay, so before we add his nose, and I know I do see my little issue I have going on here, which is I have some of my clay has pulled away. There we go. Yeah, fix that. Now right now he's looking a little rough to me, but we're gonna make him gorgeous. All right, so we're gonna do another coil. And this one is going to come where for his mustache. And I'm going to coil it around a little bit, as in spiraling. Okay, now I can add his nose right there. He's starting to look a little cuter. Now, the rest of the time, what you're going to do is you're going to take and do coils. And you're going to do a spiral. And it'll stick to itself. And you'll just start adding it by his face and coming down where his beard would go. If you have enough white clay, and you have enough time, you can cover all of this back part here. I'm so sorry. I apologize for the dogs. She sounds so ferocious, but honest to goodnessly, she would be terrified if someone came into the house. She would be so scared of them, even though she sounds like she would eat people up. Okay, and you're just going to keep adding to that. Now, this will bring that lovely texture I did here. For the hat and the fluffy for the fur, you can just take any little tool you want, even a pencil or just anything you have. And you're just going to start putting little lines and little marks in it so it looks like the fur. You can do that here too. And so when you're done, your ornament will look like this. And your teacher will put the hook in there so when it dries. If you are taking, which I'm sure you will take more than one day to do this, you're going to put your working ornament into your Ziploc sandwich bag. You're going to put the extra clay into this big bag. And you got to make sure both of them are sealed up tight so we can continue working on this next week. So that's the Santa ornament. The next one I'm going to show you how to make is the Grinch ornament. So with our Grinch ornament, we're going to have to make green. And I think all of us know that if we have yellow and blue, we can make green. And I will tell you, I did not need to use all of both packets to get enough green for him. So I ended up mixing them up where it was half and half. So you want to kind of keep your mixture even to get a nice green. So this is what you're going to get. And You know, you could start with, you know, like half and half and try that and see how that goes for you. And then put the rest of it away until you're ready. And again, we're just going to mix it. So you're just going to take it and stretch it and twist it and pull on it and break it and just keep manipulating it till you get it to a nice pretty green. You can see this is live time, so I'm not speeding up the video. It really does mix very quickly. And don't stop when it's all like this and think, oh, good enough. It's not. You want it to be one solid green color, so you're going to keep pulling and stretching and overlapping till you get it one big color. And like I said, it doesn't take a lot a time to do this. Okay, so I'm getting mine all done here. So the first thing I need to tell you, when you think of the Grinch, I know that the Grinch has kind of like this little happy heart face. And that's a big part of his face when you're creating this. But we're going to do just like we did before with Santa, which of course you're only going to pick one, but like what I showed you with Santa, which was I just covered him roughly with green all over the ball, except for I kind of left a part I knew would be the hat. So I'm just going to do this on the front to save time for you. Now I'm going to show you something. If you use a piece this big, it has a chance of ripping. So I normally try not to make them that big, because if they start ripping, it's hard to get it back the way you want it. But you could, if you have a rip, just stick another piece on top of that. But anyway, so, but you're just going to do this all the way around, leaving the top part. And I have to have something to work on, don't I? All right. At least here in the front. All right. I'd say we're doing pretty good here. All righty. Now, I know this is going to take you more time. I am trying to show you how to do 3 ornaments in a very short amount of time. And I know it's still going to take forever. Do you see how that keeps pulling there? So I am going to start pinching forward where that spot is. See if that helps. All right. All right, so to get started, he has this really, I call it a happy heart, just because it's just got a big funny smile in it. He has a distinct look about him. So to do this, I'm doing 2 fat coils. And you want them to be the same as you can be. So, like, I feel like this one's just a tad bigger, so I'm going to take some away. These always look like little capsules or something to me. Okay, now, what I'm going to do is they're kind of going to be like this. So you're going to want to flatten it out. And, yes, they can overlap. And hopefully, since we're going to be sticking this on top of clay, we shouldn't have too much problems with this. All right. So, and yes, it is kind of fat, and I did that on purpose. Remember, we've only used half of our yellow and blue mixing this green so far. So we kind of have this, and it's going to come down, and you can just shape that with your fingers. We'll do the fur texture like in a little bit later. All right. So that has his big fat cheeks, and it comes down, and he comes down to a point. So if you want, you can pull and pinch a little bit of this to bring that down a little more. Okay. Now, the next thing is I'm going to take, I still have green left. Of course, I didn't wrap mine all the way around, so you might need a little bit more. But I really am going to save this because I'm going to need to make a nose. But his nose needs to be a darker green. All right, now the Grinch, his eyes are yellow with red pupils instead of black. Kind of creepy, huh? Yeah, but that's why I have to have, that's the only thing else I need yellow for. So if you're planning on mixing a whole bunch of green like everything, make sure you keep enough to have 2 eyes. Okay, so like you need like about that much for eyes. And I'm going to roll it and half it. And again, scissors are perfect for this. And then roll them into balls. And I'm going to flatten it. And then I'm going to pinch a little more on one end than the other. I'm going to put one over here and flatten it out, and it will get bigger. And then I will take the other one and flatten it out and pinch it. And if you want, you could just pinch it, to be honest with you. Pinch it on the same side and just flip it over. Because I know sometimes our right and left hand, that's just easier for us. All right. Okay, so he's got some big yellow eyes there. And now I'm going to take a pinch of the red. And if you have a friend that's nearby that still has some red, I mean, if y'all want to share the clay, you can always do that. Because this is, you know, but to be honest with you, I mean, you're going to need red for the hat, just like you did when I showed you the Santa. So, again, we just use a little, roll a ball, press it. There we go. And there's his red pupils. He's got some kind of big eyes there, doesn't he? And big cheeks. All right. Now, he is not cooperating very well for me. Let's see if I can stick some clay here just to hold him still for a few minutes. And that would be a no. All right. So you will need your teacher to give you just a little bit of the black. We're going to need a little black for the eyebrows. And I'm going to mix a teeny bit of the black in with some green to make a darker nose. Now, when I say a little bit, I mean a little bit. Okay, so for his eyebrows, just a little coil. I'm going to put them, and I want to show you something. If you put it here, I can just gently stretch that over to the shape of the eye. There we go. Now, I'm going to flatten it so they'll be nice and bushy. And, I mean, this is one of those things you can use any kind of sharp tool. I know we all have some sticks we use when we do clay. That's not this type of clay, but it'll still work. And I'm just putting little lines to make them bushy. Now, I want them to have a nice size little nose. So I'm just going to take, like I said, a teeny bit of black. Do you see? Teeny. Oh, look, it's a heart. You're going to stretch it and mix it together so you have a little bit darker green for his nose. All right, so it's green, just a tad darker. Now I'm going to roll it into a ball, push it, but I'm going to pinch it just a little bit because I really want his nose to be more of a oval than a sphere. And I'm going to stick it right there where that heart comes down. And just going to pinch that a little bit there. And if you want, you can always kind of shape it once it's on there. Since you have clay already there, it's easier to shape things as long as you're not planning on removing it and you just want to like pinch it or pull it. That works just fine. All right, so we've got him going here. Now, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to work on his Santa hat. So we're going to do the hat for the Grinch is just like the hat for Santa. So I don't feel like I need to show you all of that. But again, just remember coils and big fat coils that stretch and will be going around the head. And it comes down and around, and then you're going to do that. And then you're going to do the same thing till you get the red Santa hat going. And I did his hat a little higher up with my red because I had a lot of red. But you can go in and do the fur again, just like we did with the Santa. Now, I will tell you, for the Grinch, he has a lot of fur on him, right? So, you need to take something sharp, like a stick or something, and you're going to come in, and his fur on this heart-shaped part, it kind of comes this direction. It grows this way. So like this would come down first. And then it's going to come around. And on these sides, where the big fat part is up at the, what I would say, the curved top part of the heart, you can make some longer pieces. I think I pinched that a little too much. That's one reason. See, when you're holding your ball, do you see what I just did? That tends to happen because the Model Magic is so easy to manipulate, but it also can get pinched. So I'm going to tell you from my own mistakes to and you're just going to keep doing that. Now, I will tell you with the Grinch, he has a very distinct smile when he smiles. Okay, but you can add the smile till you add all the texture around this heart face part. But it follows the heart kind of, it comes down. And like I said, you're using a stick or something to pull it down. And then it comes down. And you'll just continue. If you want to, you could add texture. I did find it's harder to do texture and hold the ball without messing up the front part. So just kind of keep that in mind when you're working with it. And so here's your Grinch. And there's his finished part. And your teacher again will put the hook in there. And the final ball we have to choose from, ornament, is the one I started out with, but I decided it would be fun to give you some choices. These are Van Gogh, and this is from Starry Night, and this is the one I started with. But as I started going with it, I felt like I should have some choices. So for the Van Gogh, you will not even need any of the red. You're going to need the yellow, white, blue, and your teacher will have some aquamarine. I bought every teacher a packet of that to kind of give, and she can hand out a little bit of that to you. Now, I will tell you with this one, I did not go and put clay underneath. And that can be a problem sometimes to get it to stick. But I found we needed more of the clay. So if that's a problem, at least to get started with, you can always just use a little of this white glue. It helps when it's open better. There we go. Okay. And you're just gonna go over it with your finger. See how it's just barely there, but that'll give you a little bit. And I'm gonna tell you how I started with all this was I took and I made the yellow stars. And the yellow stars are nothing but going and making little tiny balls or spheres and flattening them so they become a circle. And then but when you put it on there, you could just do the stars and the wind going around it in the different shades of blues and yellows and whites. But one thing you need to know is if I'm doing it here, I can keep it going around and I can add the green on there, which is a juniper bush. But if you don't want to, you just want to do a bunch of these and just go around them, that's okay too. It's just up to you, and you can do your stars in different sizes. You know, he has a moon in his picture too. And the moon, I felt, it's bigger. And it could have some more colors in it if you want it to. It's just up to you, however you want to do it. It's your interpretation of Starry Night. So if I just come around and I just start putting these on here, this is just the best way to start. And you see how this one, I was having trouble getting it to stay. Now it is. But if you ever do that, just get you a little glue, rub with your finger, it'll be fine. Okay, and I'm going to put one more to start with here. And then I can put some smaller ones. Now, the one thing when we're doing the Starry Night, it is the aquamarine blue. It's the darker blues. We're going to do whites, and we are still going to do some yellows. So, all right. So here's some ways to start this. Around the stars. And I found when I'm just making really tiny coils, you can just put all your fingers together and even do it this way, and they still come out pretty good sometimes when you're making them. Apparently not when you're filming it. And what you're going to do with this is like you can go around your stars with a white first. And then what you'll do is take some of the blue and also yellows and the aquamarine. If you run out of aquamarine, you can take blue and white, but I wouldn't use a ton of blue. But to make the aquamarine. And I'm just going to start going some other areas now, the wind. Now, that you may have a little bit going around, and I'm telling you, the smaller that you row your coils, the better it looks when we're doing this. Okay, I didn't get my any of that. It's okay. All right, so, and like I said, if you want to, like I have to mix my own. But basically, you just take some blue and some white and mix it like we have everything else. And it will give you a nice light shade of blue, but you want more white and less blue. Because blue is much more of a darker hue. And you're making a tint that's lighter than the original blue. Okay, and I wanted mine to be a little thinner. Okay, here. All right, so let's take this to the next step here. And that would be, I want my wing to come around. And on the other ones, I smushed the clay a lot. And on this one, I would try not to smush it too much. It depends if you like that coil. But this is where I did find, because we're doing longer coils and items that might fall off more easily, that I did find the glue worked well on that. And you're just gonna just keep doing little coils and mixing them. You can even, you know, you can stretch them. You can even just put little pieces of the white. It doesn't have to follow all the way around or anything. It can just go in places of it. And basically, you can just take it and pull it if you'd like to do that. And I know that this is a harder ornament, and that's why I decided to go ahead and do some others too. But if you love the challenge of trying to make something a little more difficult, this is a good one for you to do. And you can always just, they'll stick to each other. So if you ever just want to keep going around and put where they overlap a little bit, that's okay. So again, I'm just going to show you. I just went around and I followed the curves and around, and it was just a lot of fun. I had a good time making them. In fact, I made one where I smushed them. So that's what they look like if they're smushed, and this is what it looks like when it's not. I recommend to not smush them very hard. I think it looks better and more like the painting because of the texture. And a little yellow and blue will make you some green, and those are just coils for the juniper tree or cypress. I can't remember which one it is off the top of my head. And you'll just place that on there. That's one of the last things you do, and it's real easy by just pulling, take it and pull, and it will start making that tree for you in the different heights and things. So, all right. So I know I talked a bunch today, but there was a lot to do. So you pick which one you want to do. And today you can get started on it. Make sure to seal your bags very nice and tight so you don't lose your work, because it will start drying, and you want to be able to keep your clay, and you'll finish it on the second class just in time, and you'll take it home that very day. Even if it's still drying, that's fine. All right, well, I hope you had a great time learning about different ways to use Model Magic in making ornaments.